Timberwolves' 4-game win streak is ended in Phoenix as they played the Suns in Kevin Durant's home Yepew, and KD was pretty poor by his standards, having a very bad shooting night. Thanks a lot to Jaden McDaniels for that one. Played stellar defense throughout the night, a lot of help from other guys. Also, he just missed a lot of shots he normally makes too, so it wasn't all the Wolves, but they did a good job. Defense overall was pretty solid tonight, going up against a high-powered Phoenix team that was as healthy as they've been. And if there was a bit more consistency from both the Wolves and the Suks, it really could have been a different game. A lot of Timberwolves were coming in with a sickness tonight. Both Anthony Edwards and Kyle Anderson were the two main ones that were pretty questionable to come in and play. There's been a bug kind of falling around the team. Austin Rivers and Taurean Prince were out tonight because of it, and it's been having a bit of a simplex over the last week. Anthony Edwards, despite the sickness and recovering from injury and having to be guarded by a genuine dog and former Timberwolf Josh Okogie, he played very well. First half, he was fairly jumper heavy and kind of distributing as he has been since his return from the injury. Second half, he was a bit more assertive, got more shots at the rim, and it wasn't really from just burning his opponents all the time. He just had really patient, good footwork to have some more unorthodox fading layups that worked pretty well for him. The other two that would have big scoring nights both did their damage in the first half, being Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid. Cat knocks down 4 threes in the first half, has 20 of his 25 points in that stretch, and was getting a lot of action off of drag screens where he'd be at the top of the key, set a screen, and then Gobert would screen his man. And a lot of times Ayton would be too slow to rotate over to Cat, and he'd get an open look at 3, and he was punishing them doing that. Those open threes are where Karl did most of his damage tonight because Phoenix was doubling him, and this was kind of our first game of Cat being back where we got to see him get regularly doubled and get reminded at how slowly he processes and handles those. The ball never gets out of his hands quickly, often results in turnovers in late clock situations, and that would be a bit more of a problem in the second half as he really just couldn't get much going, only 2 baskets. So the scoring wouldn't really be there and the ball would stick and then the movement was just kind of dead when we would give him those wing ISOs, which I've been saying need to go for ages with him. Only 12 free throws in that first half between the two teams, and it was really refreshing watching that officiating. For the first half, there wasn't a lot of impact from the Suks, but it's the NBA. You can't escape that fate forever because the second half would have 27 free throws, over double the amount of the first, because they needed to make their impact felt. They have to every single game. These fucking bitches. It was like almost every possession in the third quarter they had to make a call, and a lot of them were just nothing whatsoever. You would get a call on Gobert for turning around. You would get a moving screen on Ayton or Gobert for just standing there and a player falling over and just flopping. I refuse to make any tracees for these people at all. They suck at their jobs. I'm sure it's got to be a thing from the league because it's never getting resolved. This has to be fixed. They suck across the board. These Suks. My God. Probably the most gullible people on the planet at this point. It's just unbelievable. By the way, Devin Booker, 12 of 15 from the line tonight. Gets 3 more free throws than the entire Timberwolves team, who would go 8 of 12. Yet another night where they're in the 60% range shooting free throws. It seems like it's every single night at this point. It's driving me crazy. Getting less attempts almost every single night. Despite so many players on your team being cranium and incredible in the paint, you've got a lot of star power, size, and focus around the rim, but you don't get any fucking calls. And you can't make free throws when you do. It's just a problem. Another massive problem that had been starting to go away, maybe with Mike Conley, certainly back in turnovers. 21 tonight versus 8 from the Suns. 13 turnover difference. It's really hard to overcome that, especially with how many more free throws the Suns would make. They were 21 of 27 and had the 20-7 free throw attempt advantage in the second half. Turnover culprits tonight were all in the front court. Gobert with 6 turnovers, Cat with 6 turnovers, Kyle Anderson with 5 turnovers. That is absurd. And Rudy, it was just like from the start. He couldn't hold on to the ball in just about any scenario. There was probably 3 times in that first quarter where the ball was poked away out of his hands by Chris Paul, either on rebounds or passes over to him, and he was just sloppy all night. Also, so many illegal screens, including 2 in clutch time, and that was absolutely detrimental to this team. Gobert also wouldn't really help us out offensively, as not really anyone outside of Cat, Ant, and Nas really did tonight. It was pretty lackluster scoring across the board outside of those 3. No one else even scores more than 7 points. Pretty big third quarter collapse from the Timberwolves too, as they were up by 10 in that quarter and would end up losing it by 7, being capped off by Karl Anthony Towns fouling Devin Booker on a 3 at the end of that quarter. Ant would have a strong push in the start of that fourth to tie it up really quickly, and then would miss a free throw, and then the Suns would go back ahead and never really look back. It was still close down the stretch, and the Wolves had some chances. That was really when Gobert was extremely bad. He had his 2 illegal screens in the last couple minutes. Also off of an offensive rebound, there's about 12 seconds on the shot clock after a reset, and he puts up a lefty jump hook that every person in the arena knew was going to miss. A lot of terrible decision making. Also, the combo of Gobert and Cat got out-rebounded by Josh Okogie, skies over both of them in a very important sequence, and then would force a turnover on Kyle Anderson immediately after that. It's nice to see Josh Okogie flourishing and being the best version of himself. It kind of hurts that it never happened as a Timberwolf, but he always brought great energy. It was kind of bizarre that his last year with us, it was one of his worst years of his career, and then immediately with the Suns, he's got more offensive game than he ever had in Minnesota. So good for Josh. He looked very much like Okogie, but just a little bit more polished than he used to be, and certainly saw him get plenty of offensive rebounds as a Wolf. Wolves also gave up 15 offensive rebounds tonight, which is pretty brutal and something that they'd really improved on over this winning streak that lapsed tonight. As has been the case so many times this year, the Wolves had a chance to win, but they just had too many mistakes, too much to overcome from the Suks, and too many turnovers, too much inconsistency to be able to beat really good teams when there's all of those elements going on and they're not playing flawlessly. Still in the 7 seed, but there's basically no cushion. Every game's important at this point. I'll keep you updated.